Welcome to Leader Lifestyle Hub. Today we are going to read one book summary. As we have set the target of 200 book summaries to enhance every day. Here comes the book number 51, and the name of the book that we have today is The Design of Everyday Things, written by Donald A. Norman. Let us see the targeted audience of this book. The 36-year-old engineer who does not understand why people cannot figure out their product. The 58-year-old CEO of a company that manufactures any technology, new technology, and anyone who wonders why some things they buy are so difficult to use. Suppose you purchase a product from Leader Lifestyle Hub. If you feel so difficult to use it, and few people leave that product very easily because they are difficult to use that. So let us see the synopsis. The design of everyday things help you two things. First thing is you understand why your inability to use some products is not your fault. You might be purchased lots of products, but you might be never using that. But instead, it is the result of the bad design. And how the second lesson that you will learn is how companies can use the principle of cognitive psychology to implement better design principles that actually solve your problems without creating more of them. If you are like me, you have probably had that slightly embarrassing experience of being in public, like not being able to open a glass door successfully. Is it a push or pull or slide or what? When you see a glass door, you never know how to open that. Sometimes it will be push, sometimes it will be pull, sometimes it is a slide, or sometimes it will be automatic. By the time you figure it out, you might laugh to yourself about how clueless you can sometimes be. But you can finally rest at ease. You are not the one to blame for confusion. Let us listen from the author, Donald A. Norman. Cognition attempts to make sense of the world. Emotion assigns value. In truth, doors that only serves one simple purpose that still confuses you are probably bad designs. More often than not, people are confused with a product not because they lack intelligence, but because of a faulty design. Suppose if a product you purchased recently and you might be confused how to use it. It's not because of lack of intelligence, it's because of a faulty design. My favorite part of this book, The Design of Everyday Things, is the idea that I am not an idiot because I cannot figure out how to change the time on my microwave. It would have been nice to hear more about the idea, but it was still pretty cool to see ways designers can do better. Technology has done some great things for our world. Remember, technology has done some great things for our world, and I cannot wait to see what the future holds as it gets better. So, how do we make products that are intuitive for users? In this book, The Design of for Everyday Things, the cognitive psychology of a good design, Donald A. Norman uses his expertise to answer this exactly question. This question: how do we make products that are intuitive to users? He explores what cognitive psychology says about what makes a product respond best to users' needs. He also teaches how to fix common errors so your technology can work with people more seamlessly. Before going to further top three lessons, keep hydrated yourself, have a sip of water, and take digital notes. As this is a summer, keep hydrated yourself. At least drink 4 to 5 liters of water every day. Let us move on to top 3 lessons of this book. Let us see how much we can discover in just 3 lessons. First lesson is you are not stupid if you cannot figure out how to use a product. The designers just did a poor job designing the product. Second lesson is intentionally setting limitations within a product can help buyers use it successfully. Designers need to consider actual humans so that we can better utilize technology's infinite possibilities. Did technology get you frustrated? Let us get right to these lessons and see how to fix them. Lesson number 1. If you have a hard time figuring a product out, it's not your fault. It's the designers. Sometimes you might be bombarded with multiple designers. Have you ever tried to set something new up like a TV remote, but been quickly frustrated when you cannot understand the instructions or user manual? You probably thought you were the problem when the problem was just bad design. Bad design is what happens when creators neglect the relationship between the technology and the people who use it. Good design brings these two things together. What are the two things? The technology and the people, the end user, how you use it together. Many people struggle with a TV remote. The reason is not that none of them is intuitive. The real reason is that the makers of the TV remotes often want to make them compatible with as many things as possible, such as Blu-ray player, gaming consoles, or sound systems. The designers cram far too many buttons and options on them to connect with all these things and making them hard to figure out. One of the main reasons we get bad technology in today's world is rapidly changing technology. Just think about cell phone or mobile phone in the last 15 or so years. They have gone from brick flip phones to all in one touch screen device that makes calls, streamed videos, surfs the internet, and more. While the ability of our phones to do so much more has been extremely convenient, it has also meant that phones are prone to becoming excessively complicated. Technology is changing at such a rapid pace, means rapid speed, that it is getting increasingly difficult for the creators to make new products that are still easy to use. Designers need to remember that if a design is too complicated to use, it will be useless to a consumer. Remember this powerful point. Designers need to remember that if your design is too complicated to use, it will be useless to a consumer. Let us move on to the lesson number 2. Buyers can have an easier time using a product if it is got specific limitations built into it, means certain restrictions. The home store IKEA, you might have heard about it. It is in Hyderabad near Madhapur or something around the place. The home store IKEA has been notorious in the past for selling products that are hard to set up at home. But nowadays, they have become actually quite simple. It takes a bit of time, but you can usually set up your own dresser in an hour or two without too much trouble. This is partly because IKEA uses what is known as constraints, restrictions, or limitations. Constraints are the limits that direct how to use a product. Let us take an example from IKEA's case. They provide you with different size nuts and bolts that only fit into a specific equal sized hole. Because there is only one place each can go. This makes assembling is much easier. If suppose I have 4 nuts and 4 places I need to fix, if the 4 nuts are same size, it is hard to know that which nut is to fit at which place. But they have designed in such a way that each and every hole with different size of nuts and bolts. Another way to help customers is by using cultural constraints. An example of this is that virtually even every screw could ever by tightens by turning right and loosens by turning left. Have you ever turned the nuts and bolts? If so, by turning right, it will tight. By turning left, it will loosen. So this is like cultural constraint. Means by default, they will design like that. We might take this for granted, but think about how much easier it is to use a screwdriver when you always know which way to turn it. Another example of a constraint is how most operating systems and programs will now automatically ask you to save before exiting a document. When you are opening a Microsoft document and you type something and you close that and it will pop up save, don't save, cancel buttons. It will automatically ask you to save it before exiting. Only if they don't already accidentally save your work for you. Even if you don't use the function, you are far better off being reminded every time than losing hours worth of work. If suppose you have worked almost 4 to 5 hours of work and you ignored or your system might got shut down. At that time, all the worth efforts of your work will go off just because you forgot to hit save button. That is the reason Google Docs, documents of Google, came up with the autosave feature. Whenever you type some content, just for 2 seconds, if you leave, it will be automatically saved into Drive. It made so much easier to save the document online. So that's how buyers can have an easier time using a product if it is got specific limitations built on it. Let us see the lesson number 3. To fully tap into the power of technology, designers need to center their work on humans. Technology is changing and improving at a crazy rate. But often what lags behind is design. Why? Because designers often forget the needs and ability of their users. Designers often get so excited about making something entirely new that they forgot to consider the people who will use it. So how can you ensure your product is human-centered? The author says this is a 4-step process. Remember, there is a 4-step process. You can ensure your product is human-centered. Note down the 4 steps. First step is you cannot evaluate how well a product works for people without watching them use it. Means you need to watch your end users, how they are using your product. This is why the first thing you should do is to study people using it in a control room study and note what problems they have with it. Or you can take a feedback or survey response of your customers to improve your product. This is the first step. Second step is to think of ideas to solve their problems. Let us take an example. If your product is a dishwasher and people are having too much trouble figuring out how to run a normal cycle because of an overly complex interface, maybe think of a simpler layout for cycles. For dishwasher, you can come with the simple design of the cycles. So try to solve the problems of your customer is the second step. Third step is create a prototype that fixes these problems. Second step is think of ideas. In the third step, we need to create a prototype. You can also call it as a blueprint. Make sure this blueprint fixes the problems without making a new ones. Means whatever currently working conditions, it should not be changed. If you add something new, it has to add on the new. It should not overcome the previous functions. Later, the fourth and last one is test the prototype in a control room setting and see what happens. From here, you can see if the problems from before persist. This is called testing period. You will also be able to see if the problems arise, and if so, you can create a new prototype. Before you know it, you will have a user-friendly product that people will enjoy using. What are the 4 steps that we have seen? First thing is study people or analyze your people, how they are using it. Second step is think of ideas, what the people are facing challenges. And the third step is create a prototype of fixing those fixes. And fourth step is test the prototype in control room before launching. This way, you can make sure your product is human-centered rather than your own designing or your own intuition. Okay, let me repeat the 3 lessons again. If you have a hard time figuring a product out, it's not your fault, it is the designer's fault. So if the product has a poor design, then the users might be facing challenges in using it. Second lesson is buyers can have an easier time using a product if it is got specific limitations built into it. And the third lesson is to fully tap into the power of technologies. Designers need to center their work on humans. I hope so. The lessons are clear, and let me move on to the mind map. Meanwhile, you again have a sip of water to digest the content. We will bring the conclusion by revision itself. I didn't bring the conclusion, not yet. So we will see what are the 3 things that we can see here. What is this book is all about? Top 3 lessons and conclusion. Meanwhile, just let me know what you have learned. Sony, one pointer what you have learned. Sony?
Yeah, one strong point what I learned is it's not your fault if you don't understand the design. It is a designer's fault. If it is not simple, then it's certainly not your fault at all. So don't take it on yourself that you don't understand the technology or functions of it.
Yes. What about you, Ravikran? What you have taken one point?
Design should be whatever the product is coming in the market, that should be human centric. Should not technology should not override it, and technology should be in optimum, which can be handy or solve the purpose of the whatever the required thing. For example, you make a remote with so much of technology, but the options what you're keeping, if user doesn't understand, it won't success.
Yes, that's correct. We have seen example of TV remote. That is a powerful example. Let us see the revision. What it's about. What is this all book about? Is two things we learned here is it helps you understand why our inability to use some products. It is not our fault but instead of the result of bad designs, as Sony says. And the second one is, as Ravikran says, how companies can use these principles to implement better design principles, like a TV remote. Okay, let us see the top 3 lessons again. The same thing will happen again. It's not your fault. It's all about designing. Just a minute. See, this is the one example of bad design. If you are not able to open the pointer, again, we are facing the challenges. It should be so intuitive. If you have a hard time figuring out your product out, it's not your fault, it's the designer's. Intentionally setting limitations within your product can help buyers use it successfully. Designers need to consider actual humans so that we better utilize technology's infinite possibilities. Let us see the conclusion and let us make the conclusion with ourselves. What is the 4-step process we have seen? We will come up with a 4-step process. Let us repeat 4-step process. First process is identify how your end users use your product. Second one is, after identifying, you need to think of ideas to fix their challenges. After that, create a prototype or a blueprint for fixing those challenges. After that, test the prototype before you launch. These are the 4 steps you can make sure for making good designs of your product, or while you purchase any new product, try to see these things are handled. If suppose you are purchasing any dishwashers or any products from Amazon or Flipkart, identify their reviews. User reviews will be there, how they are using. Frequently asked questions will be there, how they are using. There will be videos for how they are using also. After that, think of ideas how to solve your challenges in your life or in your home. And then just select a product based on their blueprints. Their prototypes will be disclosed, like these are the benefits, these are the things you can do. And test it, like if you are not sure about the product, test the product, and if you are not feeling convenience, you can return back that product to the Amazon. Like the same way, you can select any product. These 4 steps are important. Identify, think of ideas, create a new one, and test it. That's how we can come conclusion on the design of everyday things. So that we have seen 4 examples: TV remote, the IKEA products of different bolts and nuts, document saving the document before exiting, as well as 4-step process. We have seen different of steps of 4 steps to identify the design of everyday things. Thank you so much. See you in another book summary tomorrow. Until then, stay connected, keep progressing. Before exiting, I want everyone to share one quotation. Sony, over to you. Share one quote.
On live? YouTube, we do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it's for us. Okay, what my quotation would be? No. Understanding yourself is power. Loving yourself, I already do.
Understanding yourself is a power.
Loving yourself is freedom. Forgiving yourself is peace. Being yourself is bliss.
Wonderful. Being yourself is bliss. I like that. Ravikran, over to you.
1 minute. You share your quote, Akhil. I'll share later.
Okay, my quotation is, write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. This is the powerful quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Write it on your heart that every day is the best day in your life, in the year. Or you can also say that in your life. Okay, go ahead.
The maturity is learning to walk away from people and situation that threaten your peace of mind, self-respect, values, moral, or self-worth.
Okay. The maturity is
To walk away from
Really?
people,
to walk away with people. Great.
from people who threat your peace, self-value, and what?
Values, moral values.
Moral values.
Great. Thank you so much, Ravikran and